Okay, welcome back to the channel, everybody. We have to talk. We have to talk about not something serious, well, maybe serious for some people, but definitely something serious in terms of polling numbers. So, we have some new polling numbers. It's been a while since I made a video like this, so we got to talk about it. There's a lot that's going on, and there are some new numbers that came out 3 days ago that we need to talk about as well, which are kind of a big deal, and I'll talk about them in a second. But first, I want to talk about the 338 Canada new projection. So, just for reference, 338 Canada has been immaculately accurate with their predictions over various elections. One such example would be the BC one. They also were pretty accurate with the Nova Scotia one. They were accurate with the Saskatchewan one as well. So, they're pretty accurate in general. Now, that does not mean that they're going to be accurate for the federal election, but if you take a look right here, this is what their latest prediction, or I should say projection, is showing in terms of seat counts. So they have 205 for the Conservatives, they have 84 for the Liberals, they have 40 for the Bloc, 12 for the NDP. So NDP is just on party status if they win 12. So that is the minimum that they need. And then the Greens at 2. But there are a lot more interesting things that we need to talk about these numbers, because these numbers don't tell us the full story. So if we take a look right here, I want to go to Ontario really quickly. So Ontario is a battleground province in this election. And so if you take a look right here, I mean, look at this, guys. So this is the first time in, I want to say year and a half, that the Conservatives, I want to look at this number specifically, that's the first time in a year and a half, almost 2 years, that the Conservatives have gone down for their odds of outcome of winning a majority. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, simply put, in 2023, when Justin Trudeau's collapse was starting to begin, the Conservatives were a 99% chance of winning a majority. Not just this is the odds of winning the most seats. Still 99% chance that the Conservatives win, but I digress. This number right here, the odds of outcome, it was a 99% chance that the Conservatives win a majority. So not even close. But today we are at 95%. So it's gone down quite a bit, down about 4%. But the bigger deal about all this is this number right here, this 205. So just so you know, you need 172 seats for a majority. This puts them only about, 33 seats above? I want to go back to a number that we were looking at before, which was quite huge and quite a big difference. Oh, this is not the one I want to look at. It's quite a big difference from what we are seeing right now, because what we are seeing right now is potentially one of the biggest shifts in Canadian polling history. I'll say it right now. I'll say it. And so if you take a look at this right here, these numbers, I'm going to be honest with you, they're not completely accurate because they don't reflect, they're just an aggregate. So the aggregate that they have is usually about a week or two behind. I've noticed that, because what happens is they have them at 26, fine, but the next week they'll have them like 28 or something, and then they'll have them at 30. It changes very slowly. And so they have the Conservatives at 42. What I will say to this right now is this. As long as the Conservatives are above 40 points, they will continue to be in majority territory. But the moment that they drop below 40, and I'm talking about the 338 Canada numbers, because there's some other numbers I want to show you guys, which are going to shock you quite a bit. But as long as they stay above 40 points for the 338 Canada numbers, so the aggregate, it's very unlikely that the Liberals will end up limiting them to a minority. With that being said, we have some new numbers that I want to show you. So first, before we do that, I want to show you guys Polywave. So Polywave, as you guys know, has been quite bullish on the Conservatives. They had the Conservatives at 251 seats at one point. They have 197 now, and they have the Liberals at 93. So their bullishness has changed quite a bit. They're now down about 50, I'm not great at math, 54 seats from what they were at before, because they were at 251. So that's a big drop, guys. That's a big drop. But that's not the biggest one. This is the news of the day. So Nanos, as we know, is probably the best pollster, and you guys can have your reviews on it. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because I think it's universally agreed upon that Nanos, Main Street, Leisure, and I think Ipsos, to a lesser extent, but still Ipsos, are the four most credible sources. And if you take a look right here at 338 Canada, they have it somewhere here, I believe. Yeah, they have the gradings for each of these pollsters. Yeah, they have Nanos at A+. They have Ipsos at A+, and then they have Leisure at A+. Main Street is not as good, obviously. Still A-. They're still pretty good, but not as good. Nanos is like the cream of the crop. Nanos is today, or sorry, 3 days ago, is saying the Conservatives are 38.3%. The Liberals are at 30.1%. The NDP is at 16, doesn't really matter. Bloc is at 7.8, Greens at 4.8, and then PPC is at 2. What's going on here? What is going on here? I mean, we were talking about potentially a 25-point gap between the Conservatives and the Liberals about, a month ago. And now we're looking at an 8-point gap. It can't be a coincidence. Or maybe it can, I don't know. But if we take a look right here, we have some other polls that corroborate this idea. So for example, Innovative Research, they had the Conservatives up plus 13. Fine, still a difference from plus 8, but still nonetheless at the lower end of 40s, aka at 40. And they have the Liberals at 27. That's a 13-point gap. If we take a look at Innovative, they had the Liberals, their last poll before that was in December. They had the Conservatives up by 21. So they already lost 8 points right here from their last poll. Palace Data, I think that's how you say it. Take a look right here, their last one, they were at plus 17. And this was at the start of January, the day that Trudeau resigned. Look where they're at now, plus 6. So minus 11 for the Conservatives. Nanos, this is the biggest one, plus 16 for the Conservatives. Now it's plus 8. Now, I know a lot of people have given Eco some stuff, they're not really accurate, whatever. People have said that quite a bit. I don't really know if that argument really holds now. Now, I'm not saying Ecos is the most credible one, because I think plus 3 is still a bit of a stretch, I would say, to some extent, because I don't think it's that close yet. I think most people would agree that it's not close to that extent, because if you still take a look, it's still around, if you look at these last 6 polls, right, you could say it's around, we could do the math right now, actually. If we do the math really quickly, plus 13, and then how many polls is that? That's 6 different polls. We'll divide that by 6. It's still about 12 points. Nonetheless, I do think it's quite a big difference, and I think most people would agree it's quite a big difference from this. This is huge. 27 points. 27, 26, 19. These are big numbers that we're working with. And so when you see a shift like that, it cannot be pure coincidence. And again, if we look at the graph, 45 to 20, this is the day that Trudeau resigned. It was a 25-point gap. And today, we are now at 42 to 26. That is a 16-point gap. So we went from 25 to 16. That's minus 9 for the Conservatives. Also keeping in mind that 330 Canada does lag behind quite a bit. Now, that doesn't tell us the full story. What does tell us the full story is this. This is the latest Nanos poll mapped out. This is based on the February 7th one. This is by Real Albanian Pat. I really do give him credit a lot of times because he does these specific maps and he focuses on it in depth. But look at this, guys. 182 for the Conservatives in terms of seats. 105 for the Liberals. Okay? First time they break 100 in God knows how long now. Probably 2 years. Bloc at 37. NDP at 17. So they do retain party status. And the Greens at 2. This number, this 182, that is only 10 above majority. That is only 10 above majority. We were talking about 250 plus seats. We're now talking just 10 above majority. This number, this 182, is in danger right now. And I'm not saying this because, I want to see Pierre Poilievre lose or anything like that, or I want to see the Liberals come back. I don't frankly care what happens in that respect. Okay, whatever happens, happens. Okay, I'm just one voice. I'm not going to voice my opinion because I don't think that's really valuable here. I think what's valuable is to look at the numbers and analyze them on a deep level. Because if we take a look right here, this is not made up. This is not made up. Look at this. Seat projection. This is the biggest number that I like to look at. The day that Trudeau resigned, the day that Justin Trudeau resigned, actually this is the day before, but nonetheless, essentially the week that Justin Trudeau resigned, okay, the day that he resigned was the 6th of January, but the week that he resigned, the Liberals were projected to win 35 seats. 35 seats would put them below the Bloc Québécois. They would be reduced to third-party status. And some were even saying that they could potentially lose party status. Now, 330 Canada wasn't that hawkish in that respect, but they still said 35 seats. That is a very low number, okay? For a governing party that almost won a majority last election. Let's say what it is. I mean, I think they won like 169, 170 seats. They almost won a majority last election. To go to 35 is unbelievable. But look what happened. It's been only 5 weeks since then. I mean, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Look what's happened. The Conservatives were at 238 seats only 3 weeks ago. Okay? Actually, only a month ago, I would say. A month ago, they were at 238 seats. They are now at 205. Okay, a month ago, the Liberals were at 41 seats. They're now at 84. So they doubled their seat count, the Liberals, and the Conservatives have gone down by 33. These numbers do not lie. This is astonishing. I've never seen anything like this in Canadian history. I think what we need to also acknowledge is this simple fact. So 330 Canada has been doing these numbers for quite a bit since the start of 2024. I mean, that's been a long time now. That's been over almost a year and a half or so. The highest that the Liberals were at since that period of time, since the start of 2024, since January 1st, you know what it was? If you take a guess and you can guess what it is, and you get it right, I'll be pretty shocked. But the answer is right here, 83 seats. In August of 2025, or in August of 2024, the Liberals were projected to win 83 seats. You know where they're at right now? They're at 84. So they are now projected to win the highest number of seats in almost 2 years. I mean, this is unreal. Unreal. Now, let's keep looking at this, because this is even more interesting. Odds of winning the most seats, 99% chance. So again, I mean, if you're a conservative, I'm not getting too stressed out, because you're still winning the most seats in pretty much every aspect. But this is where it gets interesting. So, when they started this, there was one point, when they started this, there's a point where the Conservatives were at 89% chance of winning a majority. This is at the start. Then they went up and up and up, and they were pretty much solid. Okay, you take a look at this. They had one little bump there, but it wasn't a big deal. For the first time in, what's it been? I mean, this was about 6 months ago. But if we take a look, last time they were really at this point was, a year ago. 1 year ago, they were at the 95% chance of winning a majority. Now, I don't want to overstate this, because a 95% chance is a pretty big chance of winning a majority. But still, they were there a year ago. And a year ago, if we take a look at the polls, this date right here, they were projected to win 199 seats, but the Liberals were projected to win 74. So a lot has changed since then, because what's happened is two things. The Liberals have kind of decimated the NDP in many respects. I think that's pretty fair to say. I mean, the NDP has never been this low. This is the lowest they've ever been at, 12 seats. But the Liberals have also gained quite a bit from the Conservatives. They've taken quite a bit from the Conservatives. This is shocking, honestly. This is really shocking. Then odds for official opposition. For the first time in about, 5-6 months, the Liberals are at a 99% chance of becoming the official opposition. So, a lot to digest there, a lot to unpack. But one thing we got to talk about is this, the potential for coalitions. So, what happens if the Bloc and Liberals combine? 124 seats to 205. I'm telling you right now, man, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think a coalition will happen. One thing I can guarantee is that this 205, it'll be hard to go above the 205 amount. It'll be hard, because the truth is, and this is not because Pierre Poilievre is necessarily a weak leader or anything like that. It's just the fact is, first of all, his message is not resonating with Canadians. I mean, the carbon tax, Carney thing, forget what you want to say about it. I mean, he's pretty much stated publicly multiple times that he's going to get rid of it. So people are sort of seeing through that. I'm not talking about myself. I'm just talking about random Canadian voters. They see through that, number one. Number two, whatever you think about Justin Trudeau, it doesn't really matter. Justin Trudeau and the Canadian government have taken a very hardline approach on the topic of American tariffs and American protectionism. So what does the average Canadian think? Oh, buy Canadian, Canada first, all that kind of stuff. Pierre Poilievre would be a shift from that continuity. And so the risk that the Conservatives have is being associated with a ripple in the system. So what will happen is that Pierre Poilievre needs to basically, the way that Pierre Poilievre can bring these numbers up is by sort of projecting the image of continuity. And what does that mean? Stability. So what is he going to do in terms of tariffs? He lays out his plan X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. If Canadians see that as a continuous path forward, if there's continuity involved from Trudeau to Poilievre to whoever comes afterwards, but Trudeau to Poilievre mostly, I think he'll have a case to bring up his seat count. Now, with that being said, these numbers, again, I want to go back to this 197. This is the first time they've been below 200 in God knows how long. I mean, it's been a very long time. But these numbers, this 38% to 30, it doesn't lie. I mean, I can't sit here and pretend that, you know, Ecos is the greatest pollster, but I can definitely say that Nanos, which has established itself as a very credible pollster over a period of time, I mean, many election seasons, it is quite shocking and quite rich that they're now coming out with these numbers that are, you know, and look, whatever, if you're a conservative, maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe this is a good thing that these numbers are starting to fall. So it's a wake-up call to not be complacent. I don't know. Take it as you will, man. But nonetheless, I think these are very, very, actually extremely interesting numbers. But it's shocking. It's shocking, man. And if you take a look again, if we have the poll numbers right here. Okay, I don't know where they went. Oh, yeah, right here. +8, +6, +13. I mean, the highest they've been at since the Trudeau resignation was +18 with Leisure. And that was about almost 3 weeks ago. So it's been quite a bit. So the next Leisure poll will probably tell a different story. But nonetheless, the tide is shifting. Now, I do want to show something really quickly. For those that are interested, Jagmeet Singh, Burnaby Central. Let's take a look what's going on there. And yeah, it's not going too well for Jagmeet Singh, unfortunately, in Burnaby Central. He is projected to lose his seat by quite a bit. And then who's the other guy that we want to look at? Let's see Justin Trudeau. What's going on with him? Yeah, so he's probably going to win his riding. I don't know if Justin Trudeau is going to stay in politics. We'll have to see what happens there. But nonetheless, man, this is a wake-up call if you're conservative, and I wouldn't say a cause for celebration if you're liberal, because you still have a huge thing to climb. You still have a huge roadblock ahead, which is, you know, this breaking through the majority projection. But still, it's definitely a sign that the messaging, or whatever you want to call it, has been working to some extent for them. And the next thing for them is going to be to pick a leader through their leadership convention, which probably, I think, knock on wood, will be Carney. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Actually, one last thing I want to check, Polymarket. So Polymarket is the betting market. I don't really take this seriously. I just do it for fun. I just look at it for fun. Look at this, guys. Look at this. So last time I looked at this, I think Polyev was at, I want to say around this mark, this 86 kind of mark. He is now at 73%. Mark Carney, okay, for all his faults, whatever you want to say about him, last time he was at 14%. He's now at, 27%. I mean, look at that, guys. That is, yeah, it's getting spicy, it's getting heated, it's getting interesting. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'm going to keep making these videos because I think they're more interesting as the election season continues to progress, and I do think that there's a lot to talk about in these videos. I will be making a video on the Ontario election sometime soon because I think that's another important topic to talk about. It's happening in 17 days, so if you are from Ontario, make sure to register to vote and vote for whichever candidate you feel represents you best. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see y'all in the next one.